Hello everyone. In the previous video I have shown you how to use Instant Article Factory and or the templates that come with the software and the Network Empire membership area. And I want to emphasize that you're not by any means required to purchase Instant Article Factory. In fact, several people have found it just fine to use the PDF templates and incorporate those templates into Domain Web Studio. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we were looking at the top 3 tips for effective SEO. I explained how I simply filled in the blanks based on having already understood my ISDNA and my KDNA, which are the 2 previous steps prior to building your article DNA. When you think in terms of DNA, because I have DNA behind a lot of things, just think comprised of. The only reason I call it DNA is because I want you to be thinking of what each of these objects that you're creating are actually made up of, because it's the components of what they're made up of. For example, articles are made of sentences. So your article DNA means the DNA is made up of sentences. Okay. And these sentences are what's important by the time you get to the one feed system, because you want to extract them and automate them in your feeds. Okay, and that's what makes our system unique. There are other systems out there that do pull sentences from feeds. From the Twitter sphere, people who are focused on Twitter. Ours goes much further than that. We actually tell you how to construct the article in the most beneficial way, with keywords tied throughout the article that's SEO friendly, combined with your original ISDNA and your should ask questions and should ask questions as well as frequently asked questions. So we're building a very stackable system incorporating a lot of different techniques and methods here. Okay, so at this point, you would have filled in your blanks, and you go ahead and create the article down here. And then what you want to do, there's a couple different things you can do. I'm going to show you now another software that I use. You don't have to use the software that I'm about to show you. I do it because it's really good in helping quickly, functionally correct any grammar errors that you might have. And it's really important to be well spoken. Now, you don't have to do it before you actually go into the blog. Okay, because in this particular blog post, which is already published, I edit and do some post-editing. You can think of it almost like film editing, where they have pre-edit and post-edit. Once I actually post it on the blog, then I have, you got to just drag and drop it in the WYSIWYG editor. Once I actually post it in the blog, I might add a few things like some calls to action and some other things. Okay, so some of your work and your linking and even your image uploading like this can be integrated in the WYSIWYG editor. There are certain things that you want to do in the WYSIWYG editor. And I know those of you who are very familiar with blogs don't want to slow down and learn this kind of stuff because you're way advanced. But I do need to slow down for at least the middle tier intermediate person. So we're going to go ahead and show you another software to correct the grammar, and it's called Grammarly. Now again, to use Grammarly, you can go to grammarly.com. This is how it's spelled. And you do not need to use this software. I know that many of you have all kinds of grammar checks. Some of you use Microsoft Word. I use this because it's a little bit more advanced. You can also download it onto your computer, called the download Grammarly function. And it does integrate into MS Office, Microsoft Office. It does not integrate to OpenOffice, so if you've got the OpenOffice system, you won't be able to use it. I would recommend using the web service. And I use it because it's got a variety of different kinds of grammar checking functions. It's really important. So before you even bring it into the blog, you might just simply take this entire thing, copy it, and it's a web-based service here. You can just paste it right in. Now you can check any kind of review that you want. You can do a technical, academic, business, general, creative, and they're a little easier on you, for example, on creative than they are in technical, and a little easier on your technical than they are in academic. So there's a few different scoring algorithms. I have the plagiarism turned off because I know that I've written all this material. It can be used by your outsourcing team to recognize material that is not new. So if you have an outsourcing team that is allegedly writing new stuff and your checkup team, which follows after them, finds that they're not writing new stuff, they're just stealing stuff, Grammarly would be one way that they could do that. Okay, so just click this and it's going to start the review. And I'm generally recommending for your top tier, or what we call your WebRing 1 and your WebRing Social 1, that you want to have around 80%, 79 to 80% accuracy and academic. either in technical mode. Okay, you can see here that this is 83 out of 100, and that's fine. You might want to give it a once over. It's usually commas out of the air. Those things which might be worth doing are worth doing correctly. Okay, they're showing some common problems. What they'll do is they'll take you here. And you can see there's actually a lot of errors. I'm usually up in the 90% range, but that comma, this sentence is actually problematic, but they have some great grammar error checkers in this. Just stuff I've learned a lot from using Grammarly, so it's a nice thing to have on your top tier blog. You might be asking, what do I mean by my top tier blog? Top tier means your web ring number 1. It's this right here. Okay, this is your branded site that has your product or service, and you've got to put your name or your face on it. You want to try to avoid having typos and misspellings and other things on your web ring number 1. Web ring number 2 is, or WRS number 2, those are the social sites right outside your core web ring. Okay, and the core web ring is, like, for example, for us, our core web ring is themezoom.com. Let me just give you a little bit of demonstration here. So the themezoom.com website, this is our core site, and obviously these articles need to be well written, and occasionally you find errors in your blog even years later. This is a very common thing. Most people don't hire professional editors to look at their blog. At the very least, I recommend hiring a professional editor, but at the very least I recommend that you go through every article using Grammarly, try to do a cleanup, and make sure that you're presentable, on the page. All right, so this is what we mean by web ring number 1. We're talking about WRS2, which is your market domination web ring social area. You're talking about anything directly associated. Here's also a web ring 1 for us. Web ring 1 always has your brand tied to it. Okay, that means your logo is on there. You can't be anybody other than who you are. It's an authentic site. No pseudonames, no fake people, no spam rings or anything like that. Okay, so so here's my name tied specifically to the blog. So this is really what you want is, and what we're talking about is being web ring 1, and WRS2, which I was just starting to tell you, is anything associated with the social networks tied to these. For example, this Google Plus 1. If I go over to Google Plus, or I visit the Google Plus account, this would be considered WRS1, it's web ring 1. Okay, because it's a web ring social. It's a social media platform. It's not my own platform. In other words, I don't own the hosting company. I'm sorry, I don't own the site on the hosting company. I'm not paying a hosting company that I can export this platform. Obviously, Google Plus, Facebook is another example of that. Many of the social media buttons right off of your main site will be considered WRS1. For example, the Facebook. Let me go ahead and see if I can find the Facebook. Here we go. Here's the Facebook page. Okay, this is all, even though this is a widget on the blog, which you should know about, and I should explain to you how to create that widget if you don't know already. But here's the Facebook ThemeZoom official page, and this is WRS1. Again, this is the second ring outside. It's not our branded site, but it means we have to use our real names, our real authentic personalities, and our real social, our micro-celebrity status on those rings. On these rings out here, WR2, WR3, you don't have to do that anymore. These are pseudo brands. This is where you get into auto-blogged, and everybody's saying that blogging empires are dead and all this stuff. This is nonsense. They've just changed their form. What it means is the average consumer on the street can't use these techniques anymore to make money, to earn a full-time living through monetization techniques. But they absolutely can use these techniques to support brands and drive traffic and increase page rank to primary domains that sell products. And this is the big misconception out there in internet marketing land. But this is why we're teaching you that. Okay, so this is how the whole web ring, Sue Bell and I created this whole web ring market domination system. It's still working to this day for those of us in the know. Okay, so let's go back to Grammarly. Okay, we already know that we have a 96. It's really fun because you can use game theory in Grammarly to start improving your stuff. Like, I'm not happy with this, I'll probably have to come back later and fix it. But then what you do, once you know you have it, you can just take it back out of Grammarly, and then you just go into your blog. Hopefully those of you who have been working on the web for a while understand how to use blogs and how to edit in blogs. See if I can find something. Now, this is a theme museum blog, so I'm just going to add a new post as a mock thing here. And this is not a course on how to use a blog, so if you don't know how to use your installed blog, go ahead and take a course on it. There's all kinds of things you can do. Like, I copied that to my clipboard so I could go to TextPad if I wanted to and paste everything here. But what I actually like to do is I like to go directly to the HTML tab and just post it right in there. And then see what that does is it auto formats. If you click back over to visual, you'll see that these things are all there. Now remember the title as well, because the title is a part of what you're doing. I didn't import the title in Grammarly, so be sure to grammatically check your title as well. Let's go ahead and find that here. Now I've got my browser open. I'm back in Instant Article Factory, and here's the headline that I chose. Now I want to explain to you what's going on in my mind, because we're in the article DNA. We're thinking of the DNA. Remember, DNA means comprised of. What's the genetic stuff that we're building? What's this unit called an article really about? Well, it's a bunch of sentences that we eventually want to convert during our one feed to rule them all, right? That's what we're really trying to do, is like write articles that have the richest memes and concepts and ideas, and even attractive magnet ideas and seductive lines of interest for industry topics. Okay, so this is it, and I actually do oftentimes throw a headline in Gliffy just to double check, so that I know what I'm doing. You know, you can, once you're done with this, you can just click clear. And most people think they know their headlines, but I got to tell you, sometimes headlines don't make grammatical sense, and it's just fine if it doesn't. This is 100 out of 100. It's fine. So top 3 recommendations for highly effective SEO, SEM ranking project cost estimates. Now, you haven't got to the HDNA, PHDNA module yet, but you probably have a pretty good idea that this is not a PHDNA. An HDNA is something that's just a raw headline. Top 3 recommended for highly effective SEO, SEM ranking project cost estimates. Now, this is a pretty boring headline for something like somebody who's a Twitter genius who likes to have interesting cat videos or topic or seductive things. This may or may not convert that well on Twitter, but I can guarantee you some of the other sentences that were inside this article, once they're extracted, will convert very well. I'm going to leave this here because the destination for this in advance, in other words, the golden frame that I was targeting, is actually the blog, the theme-zoom blog. So I knew that I was trying to get ranked for SEO ranking, because that was what was in the KDNA. I was targeting this. I've already run the drill in Kraken and ThemeZoom, and I already know that I've got a cluster of keywords. One of those keywords includes SEO ranking, along with 5 or 6 other major terms that I'm targeting in my KDNA, my keyword DNA cluster, theme cluster. Okay, so that's great. That's all there is to it. Is you just then go put that headline in your blog. Okay, and that's going to end up being your headline. And you can tweak your headlines a little bit later on. And in the content curation and the one feed, introduction to one feed and content curation module that I'm building right after this course, I'm going to be showing you how to do all of this together manually using Google Plus One and all kinds of other things as an introductory course. I call it the Google Plus One feed to rule them all manual and automated curation system. So we'll be revealing that to for advanced members, you should have access to it. If you're a basic member, you'll have to pay for the course. But most of this stuff will become obvious to you. You're really just connecting the dots here. And then you got to be sure to put inside the post, you're going to put your tags, your keywords tags. Okay, and at this point you'll decide whether you want to add a video, a graphic, and all these things that are beyond the scope of this talk. Okay, so that's enough for this one. Then you'll hit publish. Okay, I've already got, I chose to upload this particular picture, and I recommend that you use a couple of the services out there to have legal clip art. And sometimes people purchase different kinds of clip art companies. There are a couple that I can recommend to you. Just make sure that you're not stealing any branded clip art on the web or anything that comes from a major corporation. Some of the handmade clip art is probably alright, but again, just do be careful what you use, and make sure you give credit where credit is due when you're using any artist's work, anything like that. And so we'll leave you a list of some clip art services out there that we recommend. Okay, and then make sure you hyperlink the things that you want to hyperlink to, and then always include your call to action. This is not a great call to action, but it's there. If you would like to be grandfathered into the beta price of Domain Web Studio application powered by ThemeZoom, you will want to sign up. Okay, not horrible, but not terrible. I do want to bring something to your attention here. You can see that I have the OnlyWire plugin installed. Okay, keep in mind that that's installed there, and I'll be showing you more about that. You can use it here. You can also use the OnlyWire feed integration system, which we'll be showing you in the Google OnePlus feed. Okay, so that's really all. Then you just click update. Once you've got, always create your excerpt as well. Make sure you know what category. The category is very important. Now I'm putting this in ThemeZoom General. I always only do one category, and since this is kind of a news site, I'm not trying to create a website silo architecture with a top level. I don't do more than one, because it's actually giving me some trouble with getting de-indexed for certain things. So we just go to the general category, and when it starts to, let me just show you the front of the blog. On the general part of the site, general ThemeZoom category is right here. Okay, because it's a news magazine style site, and the SEO news is down here. And I get pretty high rankings on the headlines and the major keywords and long tails in the headlines, as long as they're on the front page. And when they start to slide out the front page, then you just put them on a page up here. We have software that's coming out and plugins for the blogs that'll be available to Domain Web Studio and Network Empire members inside the area that will actually add those blog subcategories onto perma pages on your blog, so that you don't have to worry about when they fall off the front page. That's the downside of the page rank on the front of the blog, is that I get really high rankings for these types of things, but then when they fall off to the other pages, in other words, when they get to the last position and I post a new article and it gets shoved off of this roll, then some of the page, if I don't change it to be at the bottom of a page, a silo landing page, it may not keep the same ranking if it's super competitive long tail. Okay, so you can do that manually. I actually still do it manually sometimes, not on this blog, but other ones. And you can also do it with the software that we're creating to make that easier. And there's other softwares that we'll be recommending that allow you to keep the ranking for posts as they go deeper into the blog and stay indexed almost like a silo page. In fact, it's exactly like a silo page. But remember, you're under the same laws on a blog that you're on a regular website. Just because just because it's a blog doesn't make it different. You got to make sure that once this, for example, this article, Pandas and Silos and Bears, was ranked pretty high for the Google Panda changes. When it falls on the next page, it probably will lose a little bit of strength. So I need to put it under a category, probably under Google SEO or something up here. And then I'll put a link on that page, and it'll be part of the category permanently. And then you've got a silo structure. So that's a manual way of doing it. And then, of course, the plugins we're developing do a lot of that stuff as well. I just don't have any of those as part of this blog right now. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about where you would want to go next from here. I'm going to talk to you about the basic, this is not part of the massive one feed system, the basic functionality of how you would then break that down into sentences manually. This is not any of the automated software that we're building and working on. And then, how to start thinking about content curation. And much of that will be, it's literally only going to be a 2-minute introduction, and the rest I will wait for the in fact, you can jump to the HDNA course as soon as it's available, where I'll get into what's actually going on with all that. Just give you a little bit of a sneak peek on how to break an article down into sentences manually without using any fancy technology or even our technology, but it'll get you primed to start thinking in terms of ideas and concepts. I'll see you in a moment.